All right, so we're gonna have our periodic trends demo by video today. So we're gonna take a look first at each of the four metals. This is magnesium, and you can make some observations about that and fill it in on your sheet. Then we're gonna come over here. This is calcium. It's kind of oxidized on the outside. It doesn't usually look quite so white, usually a little more silvery, but it certainly doesn't look like teeth or chalk or anything you were probably expecting. This is lithium, also kind of oxidized. We actually store the lithium under oil because the air makes it do its version of rusting. You can see we have a small piece and a bigger piece, and we'll actually kind of cut into those and show you what that looks like without the oxidation. And then the last one we have is sodium. Definitely doesn't look like salt. It's a piece of metal, and it definitely has some oxidation on the outside. But again, we'll cut into that and show you. So write your observations down on your demo sheet, and then we'll get to the demos. Here we go.
Ready?
Yep.
All right, so now we're taking a little bit of magnesium. Remember, magnesium is column 2, and it's sitting right above calcium, right below beryllium. And we're going to sprinkle a little bit of magnesium into the water and see what happens, and see how reactive it is. Let's start, yeah. So now if you look at it, you're seeing it's bubbling. Now we had to use a little bit warmer water on this, otherwise it would take forever for you to see anything.
So a little bit of cheating for video's sake.
Right, but it is reacting because you can see the bubbles coming up. Remember, chemical reactions, one of the things, you know, a chemical reaction is occurring because of bubbles. And so it's forming a gas. Not a lot of it, but it is forming.
All right, that's very impressive, don't you think, Mr. Stanley?
Yes. Woohoo.
All right, bam.
All right, so now remember, we just did magnesium. Magnesium is in row 2 or column 2 of the periodic table. Calcium is also column 2, but it is directly underneath magnesium. So it is literally one row underneath. I'm not going to put all the calcium in. I'm just going to put a couple of pieces.
Put them all in, Mr. Stanley. Put them all in.
So now, immediately you can see a difference. We can tell there's a chemical reaction going on because we're getting lots and lots of bubbles. And as those bubbles as we start getting more and more bubbles, you can see the reaction starting to pick up speed. And if you listen really closely, you can hear it sizzle. And we're getting what we call precipitate, which is solid stuff. Ooh, look at that one moving around. It's crawling all over the place. Okay, now I'm going to take a flame. So the gas that it's producing is flammable. So we're going to try and do this without catching this cauldron or myself on fire. Although that could be fun. Now look at all the steam coming on. So it's, all by itself, it's generating a lot of heat. That's calcium. Look at all the precipitate. So that's the solid powder that you're seeing that isn't dissolving into the water. It's settling on the bottom.
Oops, I think I did.
What we're going to do now is we're looking at lithium, which is in the first column. It's actually element number 3, so it's super lightweight. Doesn't hardly weigh anything. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it, but first I'm going to squeeze it. And if you can see, I kind of deformed it a little bit when I squeezed it. Let's try it again. So you can see it's not quite round anymore. It's really soft and and malleable and pliable. Okay, and I'm going to cut it right down the middle. And because it's soft, I can run the knife right through it. And now if you look at it, the pieces are silver. But if we let them sit there, we're going to watch them turn basically to dark gray as the oxygen reacts with the lithium metal.
It's happening already.
All right. Now we're going to take one of these pieces and we're just going to drop it in the water. Now remember the reaction of magnesium, we didn't get much. Calcium, we actually got some gas when we lit it on fire. Let's see what lithium does.
Without destroying my phone?
Yep. And notice lithium, it started reacting faster than the calcium did. And I'm trying to keep it in the middle so you can see it. Fire in one hand and
It's dangerous work being a chemistry teacher.
so you can hear it. It's also producing that flammable gas. But there's so much gas coming off of it right now that it's actually acting like a propellant and pushing itself around the bowl. And there's nothing I can do to stop it. See how it's jumping all over? Getting some lithium. Sorry. All right, so see how fast that reacted? And it's gone. Last little piece.
That's it. More to go.
Now the other thing to notice, remember how much precipitate was on the bottom with calcium. Look at lithium. There's a few pieces floating around and a few pieces on the bottom, but we didn't get that white powder sitting on the bottom like we did with the calcium. That'll come into play later when we start talking solubility rules. Ooh. All right, now we're looking at sodium. Now, if you remember lithium, when I pushed on the lithium, I'm going to push on the sodium right here. I don't know, can you see how I just totally crushed this corner? I can do it one more time over here on this corner. I'm just totally crushing the corner easily. Now I'm going to cut it. And it cuts real easy. But it also is going to turn very fast. So before I even showed it to you, it was already turning white. So you can see a little bit of shiny left on it, but for the most part, it's white. So it oxidizes really quickly. I mean, really quickly. Let's do one more cut right here. And
That's too fast.
yeah, it happened so fast that.
All right.
Okay. All right, now you can see that we've actually moved outside, which kind of gives you a little bit of an indicator of what might be happening. This is a small piece of sodium. You saw it inside where we cut it and we saw the shiny edges. So now let's look and see what happens when we drop it in some water. So it bursts into flames. You can see little sparklers coming off.
Yeah, that was nice.
Oh. All right, now we're putting in a second piece. It's about twice the size of the first piece. So you saw what happened with the first piece. So it's almost like fireworks, a little bit of an explosion, fireworks, a little pop. Now that it's bigger, what's gonna happen?
Well, I'm gonna stand further back.
And so am I. Okay, we're getting back out of the way.
Nice fire.
Flame sparklers. Ooh.
Go.
All right, now, okay, now we're gonna do a third piece, and this one is even bigger. So you saw the first one had a little bang. The second one had a big enough bang to which Miss Calderon flinched when she was photographing it.
A little scream, a little scream.
Yeah, so let's see what happens with this one. Okay, well, we're gonna get way back on this one. Maybe. Give it a second. Now it's starting to go. When it bursts into flames, oh, there we go.
Nice fire. See, every time it gets me.